Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we'll be checking out these films and see which ones popped and which ones flopped. Okay, so those were the Rotten Tomatoes scores. It looks like Hoppers is liked on both ends, which is kind of surprising. The Bride, half, it bombed with 7 million worldwide, domestic and 13 worldwide. That's pretty crazy. Like how's that possible? Peaky Blinders, liked on both ends, so that's good. Critics like it as well as the audience. And then Scream 7 is a mix. It's at 80 million or 94 million. It should have been 100, I guess. I don't know. I blame the month. I don't know why a horror movie is out in February. And then Protector 21. This must have gotten pulled out of the theater then or something, because there is not that much information on that one. And here are the financial results from Friday. Hoppers is in first place with 46 million. It's got 4,000 theaters. I don't think that is too amazing, especially for it being a Disney. Well, I think Pixar also, but 46 million with 4,000 theaters. It should have made more, I think. Scream 7, 93. It should have made 100 last week or on opening day. And it's from Paramount. So, and they're going to make an 8th one. So it's really funny. Goat is doing okay. Made way more than Hoppers. I think Goat isn't a recycled story. It's like I guess a sports story, but it's more like, Hoppers is Avatar in a way, which is very weird. Beavatar or whatever from the Weekly Planet. I think they call it that. The Bride, okay. $80 million budget, and it made $7 million. That is crazy. Hoppers floppers, I guess. I don't know. It flopped, I guess. It should have made 80 million maybe, or 100. And then The Bride bombed. That flopped heavily with 7 million. That's so bizarre. We just had all of these Frankenstein things going on. I don't know whose idea this was to just put it out right now. I think this would have done way better in Halloween, maybe with Scream 7. I don't know. And then what else? Protector. See? Protector, $744,000. That's not amazing. And fortunately, they probably pulled it. Yeah, look, 1,000 theaters. Avatar is coming out, and then Zootopia is getting pulled, and Demon Slayer. Protector, wow, 1,000 theaters, right? So that's why not a lot of people wanted to go see it, so they had to take it out. And then both A24 films are next to each other, which is hilarious. Almost to the third one. You know how funny that would be if you can get Marty Supreme, Pillion, and How to Make a Killing next to each other in the next week or two on this list? That'd be pretty funny. And then Dracula again. See, so that's the Dracula film. There's another Dracula coming out, isn't there? In a few weeks or something? In the moment, there's a third or fourth A24 film. Man, if Marty Supreme, if How to Make a Killing can catch up to Pillion and both catch up to Marty Supreme, and then those three catch up to the moment, that's all 4 A24 films in one section, I guess. So yeah, these are the results. That is kind of, I don't know. I was expecting The Bride to be surprising, whatever, and actually be really good. It's in 3,000 theaters. That's a good amount. It did better than, yeah. Wow, Crime 101 still just didn't make it. That is so bizarre. What a shame. So we could check out some reviews for Hoppers and see what people are saying. A 10 out of 10. Amazing movie. This was one of the best movies I ever saw. The story from the beginning was interesting, and it made me cry many times. The problems that the main character had were so relatable in some moments that it made the movie more interesting with each moment. I recommend it for everyone, kids and adults. Why didn't it make that much money then? 4 out of 10, Pixar has jumped the shark. Wow. In this entry, Pixar has admitted that it has jumped the shark in terms of delivering quality. The joke is on us, the movie viewing public. The story, filled with plot holes, does not follow its pawn rules. That is the rules of its own universe. This movie will not wear well. Those who posted high ratings will be second-guessing themselves before long. What does that mean? How weird. Do you trust this? I don't know. It sounds like this guy is in on the scheme, the fake bot scheme or something, you know? 7 out of 10, yeah, it's fun. It's a bit of a weird mix of Over the Hedge, Poco, and Avatar, Pandora, not Airbender, with references to the birds and jaws that kids will not get, and a finale that might scare smaller children. Well, this is a good review. Seems kind of believable. Mixed message about the coexistence of humans and animals, but the ending is a compromise I can live with, although I wouldn't mind a sequel. Really? That's weird. 7 out of 10, good, but not special. Fun, but not hilarious. It had potential, real potential. Some characters, moments, even lines were meme material. Before the movie was released, you could feel it almost going big, almost becoming something wild, but it never pushed itself to the limit. It plays safe, upper mid energy. You watch it, you laugh a bit, you like it, and then you forget it. No after image, no pull to revisit. It could have been chaotic and iconic. Instead, it stayed comfortable, good, but not special. 7 out of 10. All right, well, 9 out of 10 has amounts of humor and emotion. Hoppers is wild. 1 out of 10, parents be warned. We saw Hoppers on the weekend that had opened, and we left the theater extremely disappointed. The movie is not anything like the trailers portrayed it to be. Tom the Lizard was only in a few scenes. The second half of the movie is very dark and not at all suitable for little children. I'm 32 years old, and it was too dark for my liking. I hope that parents think twice about taking their children to see this. I wish that we could return to a time where movies had, at the very least, some inkling of reality to them. In closing, this movie is just too far-fetched and too dark to be considered a decent movie. Save your hard-earned dollars. Wow. 1 out of 10 and then 9 out of 10. How? I went to see this with my 4-year-old, my husband, were 40, and my parents in their 70s. We all thought that this movie was a blast, and my kid, though, sat all the way through it with zero complaints. The jokes and the characters are a riot without being rude, and the story is fast-paced and heartfelt. One of the best kids' movies we've seen. Wow. See, a lot of people don't understand movies and stories. So they just go, oh, this is really cool looking, even though it's not. In reality, it's actually not good. It's probably closer to what this comment is saying. Either this is from someone who doesn't understand films or it's fake. But possibly it's I don't know, believable or possible that guy would say that. We can read some of the Rotten Tomatoes reviews for Hoppers. Just a few of the critics ones, which I'm starting to see that those are the most trusted people, I think. Critics' consensus says, an eager beaver for endearment that has the charm to back it up. Hoppers is a sprightly riot that might just be the funniest entry in the Pixar canon yet. It's probably true, though. I mean, I don't know. That stuff's... It's probably got some of that, but it's probably recycled or weak, possibly. The audience says, hop, hop, hop to Hoppers, a peak return for Pixar that delivers an absurdly cute and jubilant story for kids, adults, and animal lovers alike. Well, I don't know. It didn't draw the crowd in, you know? It should have made more, kind of, I think. If the budget is low enough, it's technically, I don't know. It's weird. I didn't see a budget for it. Hannah Strong from Little White Lies says, a sound voice cast and some genuinely fun quips make Hoppers a pleasant caper. 3 out of 5 tomatoes. Robbie Collin from the Daily Telegraph UK gave it 4 out of 5, saying, yet Hoppers has the upper hand in a few key respects, is breezily funny, commendably fleet, and appealingly modest in scale. Okay, and then this, Bruce Wayne himself says, great movie overall with a nice ending. Super cute movie with my 5 grandchildren loved it. So yeah, so that's interesting. Now we can check out some reviews for The Bride, see what people actually thought about it. Oh my god. This one says 2 out of 10 painful. That sucks. I gave this movie a very generous 2 stars. Overall, the storyline was decent, but I just couldn't get past the bride's Tourette's and irritating shrieking for 2 long hours. It could have been an interesting story, but sadly, it was a garbled mess. I would have walked out after an hour, but watching this movie in the air-conditioned theater was slightly more tolerable than the 93-degree weather outside. I should have opted for the 93-degree weather as the movie gave me a headache. Wow. That's weird. This is her 3rd written and directed film. And I don't know. Maybe she just felt she could tackle one of these stories, a Frankenstein, whatever, one of these. 5 out of 10 feels mushed together. In 1930s Chicago, Frankenstein asked Dr. Euphronius to help create a companion. They give life to a murdered woman as a bride, sparking romance, police interest, and radical social change. Not my cup of tea. It's one of these movies that's wrapped in messaging and self-indulgent while trying to deliver a normal narrative. I found the acting was quite good. The screenplay was boring and it felt a bit too long. The story seems very small for something so grand. It's dragged out even though it's only 2 hours. They should have done 135, I think. We've seen so much Frankenstein. We don't need another reiteration of the history. We need something new that maybe focuses on some other aspect or something of Frankenstein's monster, you know, or the bride or whatever. Maybe he wants to put a team together, or he makes a mistake and now he's trying to shake the local police, you know, or whatever, something, right? But to stretch something so simple for 2 hours, I mean, it's not over 2 hours, right? I think it was like an hour. I thought it was 2 hours and 5 minutes or something. I don't think it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. That would have probably ruined the movie. So that's good. It finishes saying the effects and music are really good and the setting is super cool. Very cool set design. Overall, not feeling this one. 5 out of 10. Wow. 1 out of 10. Thematic swing and a miss. Really bold opening. Great leading performances. Fun Mary Shelley moment. All downhill from there. Yeah, I heard the intro is slightly different. Or I guess good, I guess. Even when trying to make it empowering, I am so tired of the film industry using sexual assault and sexual violence for entertaining and shock factor. First and foremost, disgusting. There are different ways of showing and implying this without emphasizing on the violence and belittling it not once, not twice, but way too many times in this film. Left halfway through? You didn't even see it? Hold on. Did you say that you saw the ending? No, you left halfway through. Is that true, or you're just saying that for the review? Oh, that movie sucks. I left halfway through. No, of course I saw it. I just said that. You know, you left halfway through, so you don't know how it ends then. I read a spoiler thing. I know how it ends. I wonder if this guy knows how it ends. I feel like he just said this for the review, I think. 1 out of 10, ridiculous. Spoiler, I'm not going to read it. 1 out of 10, a monster mash. Should I read it? A massively misguided movie. Hollywood swings and misses again. Frankenstein was originally conceived as a scarefest, a big hulking monster with bolts protruding from his neck, chasing people and being chased by villagers with pitchforks and torches. The bride in the first movie and the book never lives. She is a total Hollywood invention in the second Frankenstein movie. At its core demographic, any Frankenstein property is supposed to appeal to horror movie fans. They should be scary. This is not that. Instead, we get Maggie Gyllenhaal's attempt at a monster feminist, but the film isn't a comedy. It's a dark comedy. There's dancing, noir-ish romance, and an uprising among women. Sure, that's why people have shown up for Frankie for decades. No. And so much as New Age silly scribes want to praise this, less than 0.1% will ever see this based upon the anemic first week box office. Wow, these are really bad. Wow. Okay, so it's actually a bad movie. Oh, God. Wow. That sucks. We can read some of the Rotten Tomatoes reviews for this Bride film. So it's actually bad? What's with the 73 popcorn meter or whatever? Oh my god, there's not even an... Oh wait. Wow, this is mixed. Concocted with all the restraint of a mad scientist experiment, the bride lurches in so many different creative directions that the overall effect is both sloppy and inspired. This is an electric shock of a movie. She's a critic. Wait, this is how every single IMDb rating should be. Your face should be next to the rating so that we know it's not a bot. And then they can take all of those ratings and get a better average rating for the movie. Not with bots from the studio or bots from a foreign competing studio, and they're trying to mess with that studio's numbers. So this is bizarre. Thelma Adams gave it a 5 out of 5. That means it's the best movie ever. And then Larushka Ivan Zadeh, the Daily Mail in the UK, gave it a 2 out of 5. Not a monstrous disaster, more of a case of something old, something new, something borrowed, but lacking glue. Oh, is that supposed to rhyme? I like that. That might be from the book or something like that. Well, there's a few. We can read a few more. Bill Goody Koontz, Arizona Republic. This must be a jokey name. 2.5 out of 5. I admire what Gyllenhaal attempts in The Bride. I was not satisfied with the execution. And then this one. 1 tomato, whatever that means. Buckley, from Alejandro Aleman, which he's a sort of... Look, I think that's a real person then. Buckley is a show in herself in embodying female fury like few actresses can, and she's constantly supported by Christian Bale, who understands this isn't his game, that his role here is to support... Yeah, I'm sure he's probably, of course, fine. Jeez, The Bride, actually, I can't, wow. I'm surprised. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. That seems really bad. That seems like as bad as a movie can be, because, I mean, all the reviews are bad in a row. And I take the ones that are randomly 9 or 8 out of 10 on a bad movie to be bots. There's no way. If a movie is mostly bad and somebody says something good about it, they're either joking or it's fake, because it's weird. You know, when something's half and half, okay, you can have your opinion. When something's mostly disliked or liked, it's, you have to kind of go with the most. We can check out some reviews for this Protector film that has 14 reviews here. First one is 7 out of 10. Female John Wick with a bit of Liam Neeson. That's my first thought immediately. I fully expected a mediocre B movie, having seen World Breaker last week. I was pleasantly surprised to see Mila at 50, her best Resident Evil kill them all attitude. Of course the plot was thin, but the two big gags were inspired. What? But the two big gags were inspired. Okay. Matthew Modine was weak as her CO, and the rest of the cast were disposable. Better casting of her daughter and her army superior could have made this a real sleeper hit. We really need an older female badass on the scene, and it could have been her. Interesting. So, better casting for her daughter and her army superior could have made this a real sleeper hit. Her army superior. Somebody who looks like the person, like how Sean Penn looked like that army, or whoever that guy, his character was in One Battle After Another, like looking like that, or someone who's maybe ex-army turned actor, or whatever in Hollywood. Somebody who looks more of the part, somebody who knows all the mannerisms and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, the movie is straightforward. She's going to get her daughter back. Crazy stuff happens. She's probably going to lose and lose and lose and lose. And then you're just going to want her to get her daughter back. And in the end, she gets the daughter back. And it's really satisfying. And you feel good. It almost looks like she's not going to get the daughter back. Like, it really looks like it. But of course, in the end, she gets her back, right? So, I don't know. And that, being a recycled, generic story like that, will not get like an 8 or 9 or 10 out of 10. It's going to get a high 7.5, right? So it doesn't really matter as long as, like, the story is kind of there, and you can, it has all the things of a story, but I don't, so yeah, maybe a few casting changes, whatever, but if that's all that's needed to be changed, then this should be fine. This is probably, yeah, there you go. That's a better explanation. A low budget Taken. That's funny. 10 out of 10, great film. Didn't expect a lot, to be honest, but goodness, that was a good movie, but sad. Would watch again. I miss when movies were unique, and this was a unique film. See, this person doesn't care about the casting or whatever. They don't see that, maybe. They didn't think the daughter should be cast differently, or the superior guy should be different, this person saw the story and felt bad for the character, and the character wins in the end, and that's the story, This continues saying, can't wait for the rest of the 2026 movies to come out. A lot of look promising, and as a movie enjoyer and as someone who watches many, this is a good film. And then this one says 2 out of 10, a low budget Taken. This movie tries to be Taken or Sound of Freedom. Okay, but fails miserably. The writing, directing, and acting is B-movie level at best. The ending is the final nail in the coffin. Jovovich is the bright part of the film, but even she can't save this mess. The fight scenes were even poorly done. That sucks. Matthew Modine is basically a bad version of Colonel Troutman from First Blood. So that's what they're saying. Okay, so they want somebody to have more on-screen presence, maybe. That's what it is. Maybe this person doesn't like seeing a big, rough, grustled man on screen. He'd rather see someone less intimidating, maybe. So that, resulted in a 10 out of 10. And then in comparison to this 2 out of 10. That's pretty interesting. But again, though, I'm sure the budget is low. It's probably 10 million, 5 million. So, I mean, it didn't make a lot, but yeah, anyway. So, yeah, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Yeah, pretty cool for that, I guess, mixed. Could be, probably a possible sleeper film. Something that was like, hey, overlooked and all that. Something that was overlooked, ignored, didn't get enough marketing. And it's an hour and 32 minutes. Like, that's a really good amount of time. This is what The Bride should have been. Get Christian and Jake. No one told Maggie, hey, this drags. Let's cut those moments out or make them a flashback and cut it down to an hour and 40 minutes. I think The Bride would have, I don't know if it would have fixed it or solved anything, but it definitely would have earned a higher rating because the comment of saying, oh, it dragged at these two parts would be gone. It would be more based off of, the story, but I would also cut out a couple of things that make it unnecessary. Yeah, it's just like the big twist, moved out a bit closer and do some sequences, I guess, or something. I don't know. Let's see. So Jacob Aller at AV Club gave it a C-. Mila Jovovich snarls, stabs, and dual wields her way through this grim copy of a copy, breaking the glass ceiling of who can star in one of these bloodthirsty parental nightmare fantasies. Monica Castillo from RogerEbert.com says, 1 out of 4 splats? Tomatoes? Dragged down by over-explanatory dialogue and tired narrative tropes. Protector brings nothing new to the table except maybe for a confounding 11th hour twist that I won't spoil that defies... Okay. So, over-explanatory dialogue. So then they didn't film a lot of action. They probably do like a couple of stock footage clips and montages or whatever while the character talks about it. Beatrice Loaiza from the New York Times says 1 tomato or whatever, or 8 tomato. Protector, directed by Adrian Grunberg, doesn't have the finesse of that Liam Neeson movie, but it does have Mila Jovovich, who breathes life into this brooding, occasionally stiff revenge thriller. That's good to know. That's good. Erica Childress from Movie Madness Podcast says 1.5 out of 4 splats, I guess. A film that begins like Taken, then becomes First Blood and tries to be John Wick, only the mind shift into another noteworthy film that will have you smacking your own head. Isn't that probably Taken or Sound of Freedom or Rambo? Did it say that? Oh, it said, yeah. Then it's got to be the other one. The Sound of Freedom then, probably. Or Taken, most likely. It's probably Taken. Yeah, I don't know. Here, the rest, yeah, well, that's weird. The ending was good. Mila at it again, so it had an amazing twist. Must see. Do you think that's possible? That a movie could be really bad, but the twist is like just insane? How would that work? And what would you have to do to have a really bad movie? I guess you could do a really good movie and then you could just have a twist and then like make a really good twist and then make the rest of the movie really, really bad. Like make it really bad that people go, this sucks. Or like almost like it's good bad. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers the Laser Cats video series from Saturday Night Live with Andy Samberg. I think it was the Lonely Island people who did that. I don't know. They did Laser Cats 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're like professionally bad, you know? Rather than it being a bad movie and the person thinks it's a good movie and it's really bad. This was bad on purpose, and that's what Laser Cats is or was. But you could probably technically do that with that movie. Like you could do that with Protector, basically, and it would be purposely bad. Maybe it's even likable, and then the twist is like insane. You know, like I don't know what it would be. You know, the girl cloned herself. You know, and that wasn't a clone. That wasn't her the whole time. That was the other girl or whatever. So yeah, anyways. Okay, we can move on to the Peaky Blinders film. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man. I'm not sure how this works for Netflix. I feel like they have money. This is like extra money, you know? I feel like they don't necessarily have to rely on a box office return or however much they're going to make at the box office. But so I don't know. But this is probably it probably did well. I don't think it did incredible, but this, I'm not sure if it's connected to it, but there's the upcoming 6-episode Peaky Blinders series, sequel series or something. I don't remember. But it's not going to be Peaky Blinders, the show, then this Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, and then back into this 6-episode thing. The 6 episodes is connected to the show. So this is like, I guess it would be like technically another season of the show, but kind of surprising. So anyways, this has 28 reviews and then 4 out of 10 says so many things were missing. Wow. After watching this movie, I was left with a feeling akin to that of the last few episodes of Game of Thrones. The bar had been set so high through the incredible series, and something felt so flat in this movie starting mere minutes in. I don't understand that. Like, that's what I'm thinking. It's like, is this legit or is it a cash grab? Is everybody involved saying, I have more story to tell? And he calls the guy and calls Netflix every day. Okay, you greenlit the movie? I've sent you 20 scripts. I have, you know? And then finally the guy's able to do it. And then they say, hey, you're really into this. Can you give us 6-episode series for the show? They go, yes. Probably already has the episodes written, you know? But in comparison to Breaking Bad, that did their 5 or 6 seasons, something, whatever, really kind of tight, you know, like its own thing, whatever. And then they did El Camino. That's it. They didn't go back and do Breaking Worse. They didn't go back and make more and ruin it and call it Breaking Worse. You know, your favorite Walter White and everyone returns for the incredible 7th season and then 8th season. And it's just like, why though? Did you see the last episode of the last season? Did you see how it ends? Did you see El Camino? What else do? You have to do like a Walter White Jr. prequel series. Or they did Breaking Better Call Saul. Maybe that, I don't know how you would explain that. I don't know if that's exactly what I'm seeing. I don't know, because Better Call Saul, I think people like the character. I gotta look into that. If that was, I don't know if it was a cash grab. I feel like they probably expanded on the character, right? I don't know how much Vince Vaughn was involved in that. I think he was involved heavily, I'm assuming. But now that, though, I don't know if that is the same situation as this. That's funny. I don't know. if this guy's saying this, I mean, that's a thing. Like if they did, what was the Sopranos one with the kid? Remember that? They did that. The Saints of Newark, but that wasn't a show, right? That was a movie. And that was a prequel to Game of Thrones. I mean, to The Sopranos. And yeah, that's funny. I don't think that was a show though. See, The Sopranos, I think they've been talking about doing like a movie forever. Maybe. I mean, David Chase and all of them left the ending, which I guess wasn't amazing or got low ratings, but they left it anonymous and kind of ominous. Like, whatever you want to happen, happened, and that's it. So we're all happy, and I mean, I don't know. That's what this is feeling like. If this guy is saying that, it's probably true. If for somebody to understand Peaky Blinders or a show means you've watched it thoroughly and probably listened to fan podcasts and things to talk about the show, right? Because it's something that's you're in the middle of season 1 and 2, it's like if you get into it now, you've missed it. So, but this guy probably knows what he's saying and talking about because he's probably watched the show heavily, like he's obsessed with it. He's in that way, which allows him to have this opinion. So that was a little mini tangent. I will finish this review saying there was so much that I feel this could have been, even with many of the key things and people that were left out. I can only say that it didn't have the original charm of the Peaky Blinders series, and it didn't answer any of the questions that have to be answered, which led me to believe that the things that had come next would have been better left a mystery. See? Like if they go back and do Sopranos season, what did it end at? 8 or 9? If they do 10 or whatever? And I don't want to spoil it too much. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. You find out he survived, right? Or you find out, like, you find out the other thing that you didn't expect. And you're like, oh, well. And then you don't agree with the new cast. Or the writers. You can never do Sopranos again anyway without James Gandolfini. Their only choice was to do a prequel series with the son, the real son of the guy. But I don't know. I mean, and maybe this is because of, did anybody see 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple? Did you see the ending of that? Maybe it's because Cillian Murphy's back in the whatever. This one says 8 out of 10 by order of the Peaky Blinders, a worthy farewell. So is this like an ending movie? So this is like El Camino. What El Camino was to Breaking Bad. This says, being immersed in the Blinders world felt like connecting with an old friend again, except it's 1940. Now a leap from 1919, Birmingham streets of season 1 all the way to the shadow of World War II Great Britain. The movie hooks you in right from the beginning, compelling and exactly what you expect from the Shelby family. Binging Peaky Blinders for the first time with my roommates back in 2020 was such a delight. And some of those feelings came back while viewing this flick. Cillian Murphy brings his A game, as always, being the suave, cold, calculating anti-hero. I ended up chuckling to myself because you know what's going to happen to the two other characters when they talk to Thomas Shelby with even the slightest iota of disrespect. Uh-oh. As always, it's a delight to see Tim Roth and Rebecca Ferguson hold their own with such grace and decorum, but Barry Keoghan astonished me without a doubt. I've heard Barry Keoghan or Keoghan or Quaggan or Krugen, whatever you want to call his name, is a really good actor. And people say he steals the scene or the movies he's in. That one, I had a reservation or two as to the impact of the overall story, so I can't give it a complete perfect score. All in all, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Oi, let's round it to 8. Oi, let's round it to 8. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man comes on Netflix on March 20th. When the day arrives, put captions on. Not as a recommendation, but a necessity. Slaint. So, yeah, well, wow. 4 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I don't know what to believe. This one makes sense. And then I guess this one makes sense. I don't know. 8 out of 10, the end of an era. 4 out of 10, totally unnecessary film. C. 1 out of 10, bad movie. This is the worst movie of all time. I've never napped better until I watched this movie. My brother could write this movie and he's both blind and deaf. Wow, that's tough. This movie makes me sad for the future of filmmaking. Jesus. The director must not care about his credibility in this industry. If I was a self-respecting production company, I would not even consider hiring this man. Ultimately, this man has ruined not only the Peaky Blinders series, but also his own reputation. Not only was the movie lacking in action, the blending of modern music didn't quite blend well with the setting. Wait, what? Blending of modern music? Like Eminem and like 50 Cent? Like Kid Rock or like Nicki Minaj? What are we talking about? Drake? You know, some hip hop? Like, what? How modern? Like, past the time period? You know what I like? How is that possible? Like 1960s music, but it's, you know, some Led Zeppelin or something? Doesn't it open with a song that's not from the time? You know, this whole movie is a disgrace to people who sacrificed their lives in World War II and makes a mockery of their sacrifice. What? And then 10 out of 10 brilliant, flawed but powerful. That's believable. What? We can check out some Rotten Tomatoes reviews for it, which I feel like this might have some better, more believable ones. 91% and 89%. It's liked on both ends here. Thelma Adams from AARP Movies for Grown-Ups gave it a 5 out of 5 tomato, whatever. Ultimately, Peaky Blinders, the immortal man, full of emotion, explosive action, and propulsive rock and roll, is a succession story. Dan Yolen from Empire Magazine gave it 3 out of 5 tomatoes, saying, with its edgy style intact, the immortal man never takes his eye off the Peaky Faithful, but keeping the fans happy as a double-edged sword, as it can't help but feel like an extra long episode rather than something. This lady, Miriam, gave it a C splat, saying this time around, though, an unfortunate silliness sometimes creeps in, where the film risks tipping over Shakespearean-sized emotions into an embarrassing bathos. Robert De Nursten from De Nursten Unleashed, seems like a legitimate person, gave it a tomato. When a graying Tommy rides into small heath on a black horse, the movie offers a mix of nostalgia and stirring images. Sure, we've seen it before, but this, after all, is Tommy Shelby. That's cool. Wow, well, 4 out of 5. The Immortal Man may not recapture every ounce of the series' original spark, but it delivers a powerful and fitting continuation of Tommy Shelby's story. This guy gave it a 5 out of 10. The blend of visual poetry with the spirit of British punk gives the material a vitality that helps it transcend its conventions. Okay, and then some audience reviews. 5 stars, one of the best movies I've seen. This guy gave it 5 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Peaky has surpassed The Wire as my favorite all-time series. Can't wait until I can watch it again. Yeah, I forgot about The Wire. Cool. Well then, all right. I think that's pretty much good for the reviews for these films. Okay, so just to repeat what the results were, Hoppers, it's first place, but it technically flopped, I guess. So yeah, Hoppers floppers. Next was The Bride, that just unbelievably and surprisingly flopped. What a shame. And Protector flopped, just kind of a mixed film, and it was, I guess, technically kind of a B movie, but yeah, Protector flopped. And Peaky Blinders, the Immortal Man, I don't know, I guess I don't think the budget is on here. It doesn't really work like that. So I guess technically Peaky Blinders, the Immortal Man popped, but until we find out if it flopped. So far, Peaky Blinders, the Immortal Man popped. So that's everything to do with those films. We can now check out what's going to come out on Thursday. UntilTheNumbers.com is back. I'm using Box Office Mojo over here, or whatever. Box Office Mojo. Yeah, that's what it's called. So on the 13th, we'll be checking out another A24 film, Undertone, which is hilarious. And we got Kiki's Delivery Service from G Kids, then Scared to Death from Atlas Distribution Company, Ethan Bloom from Menemsha Films. Then we have Red Riding. Oh, that must be like these the fairy tale reboot films, I guess, from an unknown studio, reminders of him from Universal Pictures, and then Miramar, I guess. So we'll be checking out these films on Thursday. And look at the runtimes, by the way. They're all like hour and a half. Red Riding Hood is not even an hour and a half. It's less. Jeez. The longest is reminders of him at an hour and 54 minutes. Do you think these studios are getting the hint that we don't have 2 hours, 2.5 hours to give you to watch something that's possibly bad and a waste of my $50? You know, like that's that's really weird. Look at that. Every movie is an hour and a half. The longest being an hour and 54 minutes. That's really hilarious. So yeah, those are all the movies. If Undertone literally is still there, I mean, it will be. If The Moment or Pillion or How to Make a Killing and maybe Marty Supreme, yeah, that too, is still there on Thursday, A24 is going to have 5 movies at the theater. They should not all 5 actively showing at the theater, which might lead to like a studio monopoly. You think that would ever happen? A24 produces possibly more than the current studios. I mean, imagine if Disney, there wouldn't be any room at the theaters. There'd be like 50 movie theater room, like the individual theaters with a screen to show how many movies there would be. It would be like an airport hangar with movie theaters all over, and it would be like a movie theater distribution center almost. And then it would be like, oh, which movie do you want to see? A24 has 6 films right now. Disney has 7 films. G-Kids has 23 movies. Atlas Distribution has 15 movies. All at the same time. I'm sure with AI, that could happen. Like double, like 2 double premiere, triple premiere. Like like this year, like for example, Disney would be releasing Doomsday and Secret Wars, as well as rebooting Marvel with the new Young Avengers and X-Men thing, all at the same time, just to double up and triple up on this stuff. That'd be hilarious. So anyways, that wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Comment down below about if you're surprised about how these films turned out. Are you surprised that The Bride really flopped? Like really bad? That it's like it's really bad, which is surprising. And other than that, I will see you in the next episode. Peace.